In Marvel Snap, you start off the game by progressing along the collection tree and unlocking all the starter cards in the same order. That ends with Odin at collection level 18, and you're then going to be getting mystery cards. Now, that card cannot be any card in the game. In fact, it can only be one of 46 cards, and this is known as Pull 1. When you've got all of these 46 cards, which you're going to be getting in a random order, you're then going to be moving on to the second pool of cards where you can get cards like Shang Chi. Once you complete that second pool of cards, you then move on to the third and final pool of cards where you can get cards like Spider-Man. So these are the cards that you're going to be seeing on the ladder, other people using against you. Let's rate them and see which are the best. My name's Specimen. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for more Marvel Snap beginner content. And don't forget to check me out on Twitch as well, where I'm streaming Marvel Snap daily. Angela first, straight into the top category. This card is an absolute banger. It sees competitive play even at the end of Pool 3. A good way to evaluate cards in Marvel Snap is you want to be getting double the card's energy cost. If it's getting more than double its energy cost, it's usually good. Now, the higher energy cost the card is, for example, Hulk is 6 energy and it's 12 stats. So that's exactly double. I would consider Hulk a very decent, if not a very good, like popping off card. The lower the cost card is though, for example, Ant-Man, the more you want to be getting a little bit more than double, right? For example, Ant-Man's 4 stats, 1 energy, that's 4 times, right? If you had a card like Hulk, which was 4 times its energy cost at 6, it would be completely broken, it'd be 24 stats, right? So you want to be getting double the energy cost, but bear in mind the higher cost the card is, the more reasonable that is. Whereas like if it's a lower cost, you want to be getting quite a bit more than double. And Angela is a card which whenever you play a card in her lane, she's going to be getting +2 points. So all you need to do is play 2 cards into Angela's lane, and she's already playing for 5 stats for 2 energy, which is about the curve you'd be expecting. A little bit more than double, being that she's a 2 energy card. However, of course, you can play a 3rd card in her lane very easily, and she's then 7 stats for 2. But there's more, because one of the best cards, if you've seen my Pool 1 and my starter card tier list, one of the best cards in the starter decks is Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is a 1-drop movement card. You can also play Nightcrawler into Angela's row, move it out, and then play another card into Angela's row, meaning that you're buffing her 4 times by 2, meaning she's going to play for 9 stats for 2 energy, which is just utterly bonkers. I'm really surprised she's not caught on Earth. This card could be 0 stats, and she would still be really very good. I expect this card to get nerfed in the future, but she's been like this for about 5 months, so yeah. Angel up next. Angel is a really interesting card. I think it's the only deck thinning card in Marvel Snap, which when you first look at this card seems fantastic. In a game that I come from like Gwent, thinning is winning. Of course, if you're thinning a card from your deck, it's increasing the odds of you drawing your others. The problem is if you draw Angel, it's just a very average card, very below average card. It's going to be 1 energy, 2 stats. And again, while that sounds on curve, remember it's 1 energy. You really want to be getting 4 stats, maybe 3 with a little bit of upside. So Angel, I'm going to put it in the very decent category. If you manage to thin it, it's broken. It really is. But the fact that it's not thinning that often, a lot of the time you are going to draw it. I'm going to put it in very decent. Probably at the top of very decent, because as I said, when you actually thin this card, it's fantastic. You want to be comboing this with Deathlock and Carnage, of course. Up next we have Apocalypse, and I think this is a good time to mention with this tier list, I'm really going to be evaluating cards for this stage in the game. A card like Apocalypse actually can get really very good when you have access to some of the Pool 3 cards. However, this card in Pool 1, the discard archetype is not fleshed out enough, and I'm going to put it in the meh category. Based on the fact that at this stage in the game, maybe you could put it in decent. You need to discard it twice, once for it to be Hulk, right? It's buffing by 4 these days. We'll put it in decent. It's not that bad. But yeah, like this card can get very, very good, but you just don't have many discard cards. I think your only 2 discard cards are Lady Sif and Blade. I'm putting it in meh. I'm putting it in meh, guys. Like, just don't play Apocalypse if you want to climb. At least when you only got Pool 1 cards. Again, later on in the game, it's going to get better. But I'm evaluating this for the meta, for beginner players, which is you're only going to have access to these Pool 1 cards, right? Cool. Armor up next. Armor is a really nice card. It's 2 energy, 3 stats, so below curve pretty significantly, but it's stopping cards from being destroyed in that lane. Armor has a lot of synergy, again, with cards that you unlock later. Destroyer being a big card that's in Pool 2 or 3, I think Pool 3. At that point, it's very decent. At this stage, I'm going to say it's decent. You can play this if your opponent plays a Nova, for example. You could then play Armor into the Nova lane, and then your opponent might play Carnage, and then Carnage isn't going to go through. This can also protect your 1-drops from cards like Elektra. I'm going to put in decent. It's probably lower decent. As I say, as you unlock more cards, it's going to get a lot better. Bishop up next. Now, Bishop, a couple of months ago, would have been up here with Angela. Angela and Bishop were two of the best cards in the game. Just very good mid-range, just always good value. Bishop is buffing itself by 1 whenever you play a unit. So if you play this on turn 3, it's playing for 1 point initially, and then you play 3 more cards, and then it would play for 4 points for 3, which is terrible, right? So Bishop, you're wanting to combo with cards that are 1-drop, so maybe like a Khazar deck. They're called Zoo decks. I think this comes from Magic the Gathering or something. However, Bishop has been nerfed into the ground. I believe when I first started playing, it was 3 stats for 3. Last month, it was 2 stats, and it was still seeing an awful lot of play, and it's now 1 stat. And I'm going to put Bishop, controversially, into the decent category. I don't think it's very good at all. I really don't. I think later on, you can probably build some decks where it becomes better. But you have to play this card on turn 3 or it's complete garbage. And yeah, I think even when it's like you're getting loads of value from it, like what you can maybe get 7, 8 points from it. Is that even that good? It's going to be unreliable if you draw it later than turn 3. It's going to be like 6 for 3 max almost at this stage. It's a no from me. I don't think it's very good. It's controversial because a lot of people will disagree with that. But I think if you actually look at the stats on this card, meh. Up next we have Blade. Blade is 3 stats for 1 energy, and its upside is that it also is discarding a card, which discarding a card a lot of the time is a downside because you're losing a card from your hand, you're losing flexibility. It's also a random card. Obviously there's synergy though, you can combo it with Apocalypse, but moreover Blade is going to be really nice when paired with Strong Guy, wherever Strong Guy is over here, who we're going to get onto later. Strong Guy has also been nerfed, so it's not as popular. I'm going to put Blade into the very decent category for that reason. Previously it would have been popping off, but I think because Strong Guy got nerfed, because Apocalypse is pretty bad this early on, I'm going to put it in the very decent category. Up next, Cable. Cable is going to go into the popping off category. Cable is 2 energy, 2 stats, which is very below curve, of course, if you're just going for raw stats, but it's drawing you the bottom card from your opponent's deck. Now, there's a couple of things. It's opening up your hand and making your hand more flexible, giving you more ways of playing nice energy cards, gives you some information about your opponent's deck, also knowing what card they haven't drawn. Let's say, for example, you're playing against a someone that's just, you draw their Hulk, then suddenly you've got a Hulk, they don't, right? That can be pretty nice. But moreover, Cable has some fantastic synergies with Devil Dinosaur. Devil Dinosaur is going to be one of the strongest decks in Pool 1, I imagine. Devil Dinosaur buffing up whenever you play, for every card you have in hand, it buffs by 3. So Cable is plus 3 stats on Devil Dinosaur, so you can kind of evaluate it as like a 5-point card, sort of, with the fact that you're also getting information, giving your hand flexibility. Cool. Obviously, actually, a lot of those points are attributed to Dinosaur, but you get my point. I think K was just very good, particularly in Devil Dinosaur decks. It's also just a nice mid-range card, quite comparable to Sentinel. Sentinel, bigger starter card, of course, but Sentinel is almost auto-include at the start of the game. Cable is definitely a good alternative option to have. Captain America up next. Captain America is 6 stats. It's ongoing. I'm going to put Captain America, I think, into popping off just about. It could also go into the very decent, but I feel like then maybe these would have to drop. We might be doing a little bit of rejiggling as we go. I think I'm going to put Captain America at the top of very decent. 6 stats for 3. It's on curve, but then of course its ongoing ability is got some synergy with cards like Onslaught, Spectrum. Does have a lot of synergy. I'll put it in very decent. 6 stats for 3 is not that impressive. Pretty decent. Very decent. Yeah, I think very decent. Carnage. Carnage is a really good card. Again, back in the day it was much more meta than it currently is. You're going to want to combo this with Nova. It can thin your Angel as well. You might have Deathlock in this kind of deck as well. There's just not that much synergy. Like Wolverine would be a nice card to combo with it, but Wolverine's pretty bad. So I'm going to put it into popping off still. I think it's a very good card. It's a nice way of getting some more stats in your Iron Man lane, for example, thinning your Angel. Yeah, it's just a pretty damn good card. Cosmo up next. Cosmo the Dog. Cosmo the Dog, massively underrated card. If you've got initiative, which you get initiative if you're ahead on the game, you can tell if you've got initiative by whoever's name is glowing. There's like a little border that glows. That means their card's going to be revealed first. If you imagine you play Cosmo and then your opponent plays a card, for example, like Carnage, then Carnage's on reveal effect is not going to happen. Cosmo can be really a nice bamboozle tool. It's a very high skill card to use though. I'm going to put it in the very decent category. I'm not going to put it into popping off. I do think you can get popping off value. It's very hard to use. let's put it on popping off. But bear in mind, this card is not easy to use. If you're an average player, this card is probably here. But if you've got a big brain, this card is definitely popping off. I'm excited to try it out a little bit myself some more. Deathlock up next. Deathlock is like the partner to Carnage. It's a lot worse than Carnage though, being 5 stats for 3. You can play it in an empty lane and not kill anything, but then, like, yeah, it's just not that good. You can kill Nova with it. Bucky Barnes, which is a pool 2 card. Deathlock and Carnage are going to become a lot better. And it doesn't take that long to unlock that. So yeah, I think Deathlock deserves being very decent. It's a lot worse than Carnage in my opinion, but you just play it to have some flexibility with these kind of death type decks. Maybe Carnage has to drop, guys. I think Carnage has to drop. I don't think it's that good anymore. I think Cosmo should drop. Maybe these have to drop. Let's keep Angel here. I'm liking this more. This looks more reasonable. These cards are all decent. You can play them all for sure. These cards are all very decent. This card's popping off. I like this. America Chavez. Popping off. I love this card. She got nerfed recently. She used to be 10 stats. She is now 9 stats. Hulk used to be 11 stats and is now 12. So Chavez used to be 1 point less than Hulk. It's now 3 points less, which is significant. I do think Hulk's great. So America Chavez has the ability, if you're not sure, that you just draw her on turn 6. Never before, never after. What does that mean? Well, that means that at the start of the game, there's a better chance of you drawing all of your cards in your deck for the first 5 turns, right? Because you basically got an 11 card deck. And then on turn 6, you draw Chavez, which means throughout the game, Chavez is decreasing the odds of you drawing any card in your deck, right? Because you can't draw it on turn 6, but it's increasing the odds of drawing certain cards earlier. So if you've got a combo deck, a good example of this is a movement deck where you really want to draw your multiple man. You really want to draw, basically your multiple man and ways to buff it. Make sure you check out my deck guide on multiple man if you haven't done so already. Then America Chavez is just like a nice card because you need to get those cards set up early, and America Chavez is increasing the odds of you drawing those cards early. The downside would be it's decreasing the odds of you drawing your Heimdall on turn 6, for example, right? Like, let's say Heimdall is the top card of your deck, and you've got Chavez in your deck, then suddenly you're drawing Chavez and you're not drawing your Heimdall. But I think that's actually, like, it's happening 1 game in 12, and I would argue it's actually slightly less than that. I think Chavez is fan-bloody-tastic. If you also compare her to Hulk, why would she be better than Hulk? Well, you're only drawing her on turn 6, right? Which means that your hand is going to be much more flexible. You're not going to have just this Hulk in your hand the whole game, which you can't play. That could have been another card, like a 1 energy card, and that 1 energy could have been used somewhere, right? Or let's say you waste 2 energy at some point, that could have been used, if you had the 2 energy card in hand, for example, instead of this Hulk, and then you draw your Chavez and you just play her. 9 stats for 6 is very much below curve. 3 points below curve, of course. But I just think it's good. I just think Chavez is good. A lot of the time, 9 points is enough to overturn a location. If you're winning in 2 locations, play Chavez in the location you're losing. If it's enough to overtake it, there's a very good chance you're going to be winning the game. I love the card a lot. A lot of people would argue she's very decent, but not for me. I think she's fantastic and underrated. All right, Devil Dinosaur up next. Now, Devil Dinosaur is a tricky one. It's either going in Popping Off or Broken Mate. I have a feeling it might be up here, but maybe it's here. Angela's just a good mid-range card. You can include her in any deck and she's good, basically. Devil Dinosaur, you have to build your whole deck around. You're going to be playing Cable. You're going to be playing Sentinel. You're going to be maybe even playing like Mantis from Paul, and you're definitely playing Moon Girl, for example. Again, there'll be a deck guide out on this in the future on my channel, if not already. The thing is, Devil Dinosaur's changed a lot since I last used it. It used to be a 4 energy card with 0 stats. It's now a 5 energy card with 3 stats. I think it's probably in Popping Off, but it remains to be seen if it's broken. It could be really bloody good. It's definitely a great card. Doctor Strange up next. Doctor Strange, 3 stats, 3 energy. It's going to be moving the highest card to its row. This is a nice card in a movement deck with multiple man. Doctor Strange is, in fact, the only way, I believe, in the game that you can move a card from the left to the right. All the other cards, Iron Fist, Heimdall, are moving cards from the right to the left. Doctor Strange is able to move cards from the left to the right. Is that useful? I mean, not really. It can be a little bit. You can get some Bamboozle going with him. He's honestly pretty meh, but he's definitely decent. He's not great, but he's definitely decent because there's like just a lack of other movement tools. Yeah, you want to be moving multiple man with Doctor Strange. And also in like this multiple man deck, you're now playing like Miles Morales. You probably want to play Angela. And then Doctor Strange can move Angela maybe to get like a +2 on Angela, for example. He's a decent card, but honestly kind of rubbish. Domino up next. Maybe we need to make a lane for Domino. What an awful card. this card is absolute dog. I think it's a contender for worst card in the game, up there with Cyclops and the Thing. Domino is a 2 energy card, 3 stats, which you are always drawing on turn 2. Why is that so bad? Well, that means it's decreasing the odds of you drawing all your other cards. Quicksilver is also a similar card to Domino, and I'm not slanging off Quicksilver quite so much, but yeah, Quicksilver is like 1 point less for 1 energy less, right? It just seems like a much, much better card. I think Domino could easily be 4 stats and she would still be very meh. But 3 stats, she's dead. I will add, I have played Domino quite a bit in a Lockjaw deck, which is a card you get in pool 3, but terrible card apart from that deck. And even in that deck, I don't even think she's correct. Up next, we have Elektra. All the way into broken, mate. Now, I will add, Elektra becomes worse the more cards you unlock. Particularly because Killmonger, I believe, is a pool 2 card now. Killmonger is a 3/3 card which destroys all 1-cost cards. Elektra is a 1/1 which destroys a 1-cost card. But everybody and their nan is playing Ant-Man in all of their decks. And what Elektra does against Ant-Man is it doesn't even have to kill the Ant-Man. It can just kill another 1-drop in that lane. And then Ant-Man is playing as a 1-for-1. The other way to look at Elektra is that Elektra is just trading up to every 1-drop in the game because it's killing it, right? With some exceptions like Korg being an exception, right? Elektra is an extra point, but Korg's still got its on-reveal effect to put a card in your deck. Another downside of Elektra, though, is let's say your opponent has got a full lane. If you play around turn 5, that suddenly opens up another spot in that lane for your opponent to play. So Elektra best used on turn number 6. But also, another thing that Elektra can do really well is kill Nightcrawlers. Nightcrawlers can win some games on their own by like moving into like Death's Domain, for example. So let's say your opponent plays a Nightcrawler, then moves it into Death's Domain, which is the location where cards played there are destroyed. You can then play Elektra into Death's Domain. Even though Elektra herself will die, her on-reveal effect will still go through and kill Nightcrawler. So I think you could make a case to put Elektra in popping off as well. But I think at this stage in the game, she's so good. She does get worse as the game goes on, but she's in broken, mate, for me, up there with Angela. Honestly, Angela maybe just deserves its own category. I think this card is ridiculous. I'm really surprised it's not been nerfed. Enchantress. Oh, baby. What a flipping card. Popping off for me. Enchantress is a 4 energy, 4 cost card, which on reveal removes the ongoing abilities at this location. Why is that good? Well, that is going to turn Devil Dinosaur into a 3-point card. That is going to turn Ant-Man into a 1-point card. That's going to turn Iron Man into a 0-point card. Honestly, I think Enchantress is in broken because you want to play Enchantress on turn 6. For that surprise value. You maybe play like an Enchantress and then a Sentinel as well, for example, right? Or Enchantress, Elektra, and Ant-Man, or something like that, right? And the surprise value you get with Enchantress, your opponent thinks they're winning a location by a mile. And then they just give you a location for free with their Iron Man. They're feeling so confident. And then bang, you Enchantress. And suddenly that Iron Man's paying for 0 points for 5 energy. Like the swing that Enchantress gives you. And do not forget in Marvel Snap, on the final turn, the cubes are double. That is the way you climb up the ranks. So the value that Enchantress gives you, a surprise value, is phenomenal. Shang Chi is a similar card. Shang Chi is a pool 2 card, which is destroying cards with 9 or more power. Shang Chi has a similar, like, surprise value, and it's a much more popular card in pool 3 meta, but actually Enchantress, even in pool 2 meta, is more popular. It deals with Dinosaur, as I say, it deals with Ant-Man, it deals with these Onslaught decks, Mr. Fantastic. There's so many good ongoing cards at the start of the game. I'm putting it broken, honestly, I really am. Enchantress, also worth mentioning, I think has when you're building decks with Enchantress, has a little bit of a different vibe. A lot of the time, I would suggest just playing 1 6-drop, 1 5-drop, 1 4-drop. But with Enchantress, I would actually encourage you to consider playing 2 4-drops because Enchantress isn't really a 4-drop. You don't really play her on turn 4. You want to play her as late as possible, in my opinion. On turn 6 is the ultimate Enchantress, right? So yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's really bloody good. We have Forge next. Forge is very meh, but it's a nice way of buffing up Multiple Man in the movement deck, and for that reason, I'm going to put it in decent. You want to play Forge and then play Multiple Man. Multiple Man's then going to go to 5 power. I'm going to put Multiple Man popping off, honestly. Like, it's actually a lot worse than these other cards, but like Multiple Man is like the card that's carrying movement. Maybe very decent. Like, the card itself is so good. Like, the problem is, like, it's so inconsistent, this deck. I put it popping off, man. This card pops off. It pops off. Groot up next. Meh. Terrible card. Honestly, I might even just put it in dead. It is 6 stats if you get the Predickie correct. If you get it wrong, it's 3 stats for 3. It's so bad. I'm putting it dead. Please, second dinner, Rework the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Mantis. Mantis has like a more interesting ability. Just don't make them all doing the same thing. And if you are, please put some respect on Groot's name. Give him a little buff. He deserves more. They recently buffed Gamora. I would like to see him do more. I next have Heimdall. Heimdall, one of my favorite cards in the game. Again, I'm a little bit biased. I would say Heimdall is actually popping off, honestly. I really would. I really would say this card is fantastic. It is 1 point less than Chavez. So it's the same amount of points as Odin. It's moving everything from the right to the left. The big problem with Heimdall is it's very predictable, but that's why I would suggest playing Heimdall and Chavez in a movement deck. I just love Heimdall. I think it's so good. You can get some serious bamboozles going with Heimdall. Again, the movement deck isn't very good, but I don't think that's because these cards are bad. I just think it's because it's too inconsistent. And you're just like a one-trick pony. Like, you're just all in on multiple man popping off, really. Hulkbuster next. Hulkbuster being another card which goes pairs with multiple man. I'm going to put it in the decent category. The only real use for it early on is Hulkbuster your multiple man. Then your multiple man is 7 stats. Then when you make copies of multiple man, all the other multiple mans are 7 stats. Iron Fist, I'm also putting in popping off. Honestly, this card's so good. It's the rest of the movement deck, it just doesn't feel so good. I love this card. I'm a massive, massive fan. Iron Fist is going to be a card that you're going to be playing in all your movement decks up until the end of the game. 2 stats for 1 energy, and it moves the next card you play. So you can play Iron Fist, and then your multiple man moves. And then you have 2 copies of multiple man. The best way to play Iron Fist, though, is you have your multiple man in the far right lane, then you play your Iron Fist, and then you play Hulkbuster onto multiple man. Hulkbuster is going to merge with multiple man, making it 7 stats, and your Iron Fist is then going to move the Hulkbuster, which is like basically now multiple man, and then you've got 2 7-point multiple mans, and you play your Heimdall, and suddenly you've got 4 7-point multiple mans, right? So I'm putting all the movement cards in popping off so far, not including Doctor Strange. Do not think that means the movement is popping off. It can pop off to an insane degree, but it's very unreliable. Claw. Claw's a good card. I'm going to put Claw into very decent. I think the reason that Claw isn't going into popping off is because you can't play it in the right lane. It's restricted to the middle and the left lane, which I do think is a problem. Claw's a really nice way of getting points into a location which is already full. It's a nice card with Onslaught as well. Claw could go into popping off, honestly. Claw really could go into popping off. I know a lot of people are going to be unhappy about these movement cards up here, but whatever. It's my personal opinion. Maybe I should relegate a couple of them. We'll see, we'll see. Claw is very decent. I think nothing more. Yeah. Korg. Korg is, in my opinion, popping off. Really good card. 2 stats, 1 energy, below curve, but you're putting a rock into your opponent's deck. If they draw that rock, that's stopping them drawing a whole card. That's a big deal. That really is a big deal, right? So Korg, I like a lot. It's one of my favorite 1-drops that you get early on. Yeah, I would play it a lot. Craven, mate. Honestly, mate, I don't even care. Craven is going into broken. This card is insane. Like, this card is actually insane. Craven, okay. Craven is 2/2, and every time a card moves to its lane, it gets plus 2 points. So you can move a Nightcrawler in there. You can Iron Fist a card in there. You could Doctor Strange a card in there. You can Heimdall a whole bunch. Moreover, your opponent's cards that move to Craven's lane, like your opponent's Nightcrawler, which they are playing, is also going to buff him by 2. Added to that, locations, which move cards, which there's quite a lot of. It's like Strange Academy, there's New York. Are also, you know, if any cards are moved, they're also going to buff him, including your opponent's cards. Craven can play for like 16 points for 2. How could it not be in the broken category? It's just insane. It's just insane. Sometimes it sucks though, even in the movement decks, because like a problem the movement decks have is you often have too many bodies, like and then you just run out of like things actually moving. Craven's insane. It used to be the worst card in the game, and now it's in broken. Lady Sif, okay, controversial one. This is a controversial one because Lady Sif is a top meta card in pool 3, but guess what? In pool 1, she's garbage. She's good in this rubbish discard deck. She's not going to be good in Strong Guy. Like, why would you want to discard your biggest card? You just want to discard something random, right? She's 4 stats for 3. It's bad. She used to be 4 stats for 2. She got nerfed by a whole energy. It's a huge nerf. Again, Lady Sif, fantastic when you get to pool 3. Please. I can already see that. Specimen, you're so dumb. I'm in pool 3. No, shut up. This is not a good card to play in your deck if you're in pool 1. I also think, Blade's fine here. Blade could honestly come down. Yeah, Blade's going to come down. Lizard. Lizard's a weird one. Lizard's 5 stats for 2, which is slightly above curve, but again, at that kind of power level, 2 energy, you want it to be you want it to be above curve. Like 5 stats for 2 is like just about there, right? But the downside of it is the fact that if your opponent has a full row, it loses what, 3 points? So bad. Lots of people play this card. I don't know why. I think it sucks. I hate it. I really hate this card. Decent. It's definitely not meh. It's definitely decent. Like, if I'm putting Forge in that in decent, it's okay. It's got synergy with Spectrum, for example. You can play in a Spectrum deck, right? It's good in Spectrum. Cool. Mantis. Mantis is a controversial card. 2 stats, 1 energy. It has basically the same ability as Cable if you get the Predickie right. So it's the only interesting Guardian of the Galaxy. Please can we get more cards like this? If you get the prediction right, you draw the top card from your opponent's deck. Now, there's a whole debate which you can have with this card, which I'll probably do a whole separate video on, whether that is more impactful than drawing the card from the bottom. I would argue yes, because let's say, for example, I'm playing, you know, my Hulk deck, and my opponent plays a Mantis, gets the prediction right, and draws the Hulk that was on top of my deck. I was going to draw that Hulk, right? So therefore, you stopped me drawing a card which I was going to draw, which is a win condition. If Cable drew Hulk, I was never even going to see that Hulk anyway. Now, philosophically, people will argue that it doesn't make a difference if it draws from the top or the bottom. I think that's nonsense. But then you look at the odds and you say, well, the odds are the same. It's like, if you just do it if you do it infinite times, like, they're going to work out the same. Oh, I don't even know, mate. My brain's melting already. What do you guys think? I would argue, in that game, if Mantis draws the card, which is on top of my deck, which is my win condition, Mantis has stopped me directly drawing that win condition in that moment. True? Yes, indisputably. So surely Mantis, drawing from the top, is more impactful. But then the logic you could also say is, okay, while that is true, sometimes Mantis is also going to draw a bad card from the top of my deck, meaning that I then draw my win condition because she's like thinning the top of my deck. So it evens out. I think I can agree to say that. I don't know. Is Mantis good? People are like, shut the flipping bruv. No one cares. I'm putting Mantis in decent. Which, honestly, she's definitely not meh. She's decent. She's okay in Double Dinosaur. I actually like the card a lot. There's just so many other good 1-drops, right? Like, 2 stats for 1 is just not really cutting it. And a lot of the time she's just playing as a 2 for 1. Like, these prediction cards at 1 energy. Like, you don't want to play a Mantis on turn 1. But why would you not want to play a 1 energy card on turn 1, right? There's just something about that that's just not quite right. Elektra being the exception. Elektra doesn't care about that, and that's like another reason she's like more balanced like as the game goes on, right? But at the start, so good. Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister is making a copy of itself. If you buff Mr. Sinister with Forge, the copy is also going to be 4 stats, just so you know. A little bit of synergy there you might want to try out. It also has some synergy with Blue Marvel. It's 4 stats for 4, 2 bodies. 2 bodies, while being nice, also is a downside because it's 2 bodies in 1 location. You can only play 2 other cards there. It's decent. It's decent. Honestly, maybe Mantis should come down. I think Mantis should come down. Oh, Mantis, I feel so bad. Put with Lady Sif and Apocalypse. Even those cards are good. Anyway, Moon Girl. Moon Girl got nerfed since I last played her. She used to be 3/3 and she used to be up here with Devil Dinosaur. She used to be the best card in the game. Now, if there's a card which gets printed, which is OP, like Nova used to be back in the day, when the game first came out, Nova used to boost everything by 2. Now boost everything by 1. People just used to play Moon Girl to get 2 Novas, and then you'd win the game. So if there's ever a super OP card, Moon Girl becomes really good. Moon Girl is particularly nice with Devil Dinosaur because you could make 2 Devil Dinosaurs. So you could play Devil Dinosaur on turn 5, Devil Dinosaur on turn 6, for example. And obviously you're duplicating your hand, so you're going to have like 6 cards in your hand probably. You can have a max of 7. Moon Girl, Moon Girl, Moon Girl. I think very decent probably. Honestly, maybe she's popping off. I think very decent. I don't think she's that good anymore. At 4 energy, she's very awkward, right? She's very awkward. Yeah, I think very decent's fair. Maybe she could go up. She could maybe go up. Morph. Morph, Morph, Morph. 3 energy, 0 stats. Terrible. Why would you want to play a card like that? On reveal, Morph is transforming into a card into your opponent's hand. So this is an RNG Jesus card. You could hit Hulk. You could hit Domino. Probably not. You could hit Hulk. That's nice. Obviously, the later on in the round you use this, the better the chances are it's good because your opponent's probably like playing a lot of the cards from the hand. It's a decent card. Is it? Or is it meh? I think it might be meh. Like, Mantis is honestly solid as well. Like, these cards aren't even that bad either, right? I think it's meh. I think Lizard might be meh. I'm going to keep it there. I'll keep it there. Honestly, Armor could be meh at this stage of the game. I think Armor's kind of meh. Armor gets good later, but I think for now, like, no one's really playing these Carnage Deathlock decks. I don't think you're really countering anything. You could counter some Elektras, but not even really. Again, I think Armor's going to get a lot better. When you hit Pool 2, Armor's probably very decent. For that reason, because Pool 2's not that far away, I'm going to put Armor in. I'm going to keep Armor in decent. I think putting Armor in meh is very harsh. Armor's going to be nice against Killmonger, for example. This is just a good card. It's fine. Namor, dead. Terrible card. So Namor is buffing, I want to say by 4, if it's the only card in this location. Regardless of how much it buffs by, it's good if you play it on a lane of its own. It might be like even more. It might be like 5. I honestly don't know. Apologies for that. But the reason I don't know is because this card is god-awful. Why is that? Well, you can only play 12 cards in Marvel Snap. So if you're playing Namor on a lane of its own, that means you're playing Namor and you've only got 8 spots left. Alright? For its ability to go off. It does have some synergy with Spectrum, for example. Namor is good in the location Atlantis. Quite fitting. The card is garbage. Hate it. It should get buffed. Like, I actually love the design of the card, but it needs to be getting more stats, bro. It's just not worth it. Nova. Nova is 2 stats, 1 energy. When destroyed, it buffs all other cards on your side of the board by 1. Carnage, Deathlock, main target. Very nice with very nice as a way of putting stats into a lane which is already full, which is a really nice thing to do in Marvel Snap. Also has some nice synergy with like Iron Man, for example. Like it's +8 on an Iron Man lane, for example. So that's pretty cool. It's either decent or very decent. I think it's very decent. I think it's very decent, mate, to be fair. Onslaught. 7 stats, 6 energy. It is doubling the ongoing abilities at this location. So many of you are going to be just like getting absolutely rock hard at the idea of using Onslaught on Iron Man and getting 1,000,000 points. It's actually not where it's very good. Onslaught's very nice on cards like Claw, which you're putting cards into the middle. Like, let's say you play it in the middle, like Mr. Fantastic. You put cards into the middle lane with Onslaught with like Ant-Man, Captain America. But then you also want to be putting stats into another lane, so with like Claw. So you're not just over-committing to this one lane. Onslaught is very decent in my opinion. I don't think it's popping off. I think Heimdall's better. I do. I'm going to put it next to Claw and very decent. Professor X, a very controversial card. Professor X is up here in the Pool 3 meta. But in the Pool 1 meta, it's probably here. So where do we put it? There's a bit of a dilemma. I would say if you're building cards out of Pool 1 cards only, Professor X is dead. When you get later on into the game, you get cards like Daredevil, which show you where your opponent's playing on turn 5. I mean, to be fair, it's probably like more here. It's nowhere near as bad as these. But I'm going to put Professor X into the very decent category because it is just a very decent card. I think putting him anywhere lower is just an absolute travesty because, again, later on in the game, he's so good. He's one of my favorite cards in the whole game. It's a very big brain card, similar to Cosmo. If you have a small brain, don't play these cards. Okay, don't play these cards. I've realised I'm kind of in the way of some of them, but just so you can see. Apologies for being in the way if there was any that I was bugging you by being in the way. I'm doing it in one take, innit? Rocket Raccoon, 1 energy, 2 stats. If you get the Predicki right, it's 4 stats. So it's like a little Ant-Man if you get the Predicki right. Again, the problem is you don't really want to be playing Rocket Raccoon on turn 1. You want to save it till later, which makes it pretty awkward. It's a very decent card. It's definitely better than Angel in my opinion. Again, Angel's just a weird one. Angel's such a hard card to rate. I think you have to put it in very decent for how powerful it is. Rocket Raccoon I'm going to put in here. It is a 1-drop that I play quite a bit of. I actually think I prefer Hawkeye to Rocket Raccoon now. When I first started playing the game, I definitely preferred Rocket Raccoon. But mate, Hawkeye's kind of grown on me a little bit. There's a lot of good 1-drops. Like, I would rather be playing Korg. Korg I'd definitely rather play. What are the other 1-drops? Squirrel Girl. Yeah, it's got going very decent. And maybe there's Elektra. A lot of the starter 1-drops are okay as well, right? Like Nightcrawler, Ant-Man. So it's in very decent. It's like one of the better 1-drops you get early on, but like you're not really ever going to be playing this. Same with Captain America. Like after pool 1. These are just like value cards, like Captain America and Rocket Raccoon. These are going to get worse as the game progresses, but for the moment, they're just decent cards for their mana curve. They're just like mid-rangey stats. They're just stats, right? Like if you get the prediction right of Rocket Raccoon, happy days. So that's why they're in very decent. Early on, they're just nice cards to fill out the deck to have a mana curve, because you don't have as many options, right, to go for full synergy. They're just value cards with like synergy's not so important. With Captain America, it can be, but yeah. Scarlet Witch, 2 energy, 3 stats. Scarlet Witch used to be up here. She used to be 1 energy, 2 stats, and she was insane. I would honestly love to see Scarlet Witch become 1 energy, 1 stat. I think that would be really interesting. Currently, she is 2 energy, 3 stats, and I don't think she's that good. She's like a sentinel body, right, without like the upside. The thing with Scarlet Witch is, there's so many things you can do with Scarlet Witch, which is just amazing. Let's say there's a limbo on the board, which is like the game is going to end on turn 7. On turn 6, you can Scarlet Witch it, and suddenly the game ends on turn 6 when your opponent thinks it's another turn. Similarly, if TVA shows up, which is the one which ends the game on turn 4, you can Scarlet Witch it on turn 4. Your opponent thinks the game's ended, and bang, suddenly there's 2 more turns. Similarly, Bar with No Name, or you can just play. If let's say you just put Bar with No Name is the one where whoever has the least points wins. You can just put some points into Bar with No Name. Your opponent thinks they're winning. They're like, what is this clown doing? And then on turn 6, you Scarlet Witch Bar with No Name and turn it into another random location. The problem with Scarlet Witch is a lot of the time the locations don't really matter that much. And you end up just playing her as a high roll card, hoping that the location favours you. And for 3 stats for 2, I just don't think it's good enough. I think she needs to be a 1-1 or a 4-2. But I think she's still decent. I don't think she's very decent. I think she's decent. I've been playing her a bit and I'm not super impressed. Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is 7 stats for 5 energy. And she is, on reveal, going to be lowering the power by 1 of all cards in the opponent's row. So she's playing for 11 for 5. Above curve for 5 energy is a big deal, right? That is good. She also has Odin synergy. She's also very nice against Iron Man lanes. So if you can Spider-Woman and Iron Man lane, that's like 8 stats on the thing. So she's like a 15-point card there. I think that sounds very decent. I don't think she's popping off. I really don't. I think she's very, very decent, though. I think she's very decent. Maybe, I think Moon Girl has to go up into popping off, to be honest. I think she does. Moon Girl, Dino, combo. Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl, you play her, and she makes 2 squirrels. That's pretty good, because that's 3 1-drops, which is points for Kazar, points for Blue Marvel. The downside of that is that you're taking up every location, 3 out of 12 spots. That can be a positive, but you're also putting like a 1-point card into every location, right? So then if you're trying to play like something like Iron Man, it's just not going to be as impressive, right? You're going to struggle to beat an Iron Man lane when you're playing Squirrel Girl, probably. So is she broken or is she popping off? That's a good question. I think Squirrel Girl just about deserves to go in the broken mate category. It's a tough call. It's a tough call. Because I feel like Angela deserves her own flipping lane. Do you know what? Oh. How do we add? Add row above. Yes. Angela. Yeah. Okay. That gives us some wiggle room. This seems better. Dino probably goes up. Yeah. This is better. I like this. I think we could put maybe Spider-Woman goes into, like, honestly, a few of these could come up. Ooh, it's tough. It's really tough just deciding. Like, there's just some that are so on the cusp, right? Like, I think Claw could go up, Moon Girl, Onslaught. I think these could all go up. Maybe they should. I think they should. Yeah, I'm going to put them all up. I think they deserve on the same lane as these. And these deserve to be higher. Angela's in her own lane. I like this more. Okay, Strong Guy up next. Strong Guy is, I think, buffing by 6 these days. 10 stats for 4. This is above curve, but you have to have an empty hand to do it. Blade's going to be a nice card if you're playing with Strong Guy. Strong Guy used to be super broken. I think he's like a decent card now. Maybe we'll put him in very decent, because like if you can build your whole deck around him and he's so good. The problem is building your whole deck around him where he's actually going off consistently. A lot of people are going to fall into the trap of trying to play Strong Guy with Apocalypse, because Strong Guy synergizes with Discard. Don't do that, because you have to empty your hand by... No, it just doesn't work, right? Because you're playing Apocalypse on turn 6, but then you're also drawing a card. And Strong Guy, Apocalypse, anti-synergy doesn't work. Putting him in decent. Maybe we could bump up Scarlet Witch to very decent as well. Yeah. Yep. People are going to be reading about Bishop, I know it, but I stand by. Oh, Swordmaster. I forgot. Swordmaster also another discard card. Makes you stronger a bit better. Makes your Apocalypse deck a little bit better. So maybe I've been a little bit harsh on APOC, but I've made my decision. I'm going to put him into decent next to Blade. Lower than... He's worse than Blade. Let's put Blade up. Blade's just solid. 3 for 1 with discard. That's decent. That's very decent. 3 for 6 is decent. Cool. Atua the Watcher, dead. Do not play this card. This card is so garbage. Honestly, we should probably make a lane for Domino as well. But like, this card is so shite. I wasn't supposed to swear. Whatever. I'm not editing. This card sucks. So bad. So this card is showing you locations, what the locations are that aren't revealed if it's in your starting hand, and it's only 2 stats. So the problem with that is even if you see what the locations are, 90% of the time that does nothing for you. Occasionally, sure, it's going to be sick. But then you've also got this terrible card in your hand. Moreover, you're not even going to draw it most of the time. So it's not even going to matter. And then you've just got a terrible card in your deck. It's so bad. Please do not play this card. If you play this card, I'll just snap on you instantly because I have no respect. White Queen. White Queen got buffed recently. White Queen is drawing the top card from your opponent's hand and putting it in your hand. Making a copy of it, right? So let's say your opponent's got Hulk in their hand, you get a Hulk in your hand. So White Queen has some synergy with Dino. It gives you information. It gives you a nice high-end card to play, so it gives you some flexibility. It's only 6 stats for 4, though, which is 2 below curve. That's pretty bad. So I'm going to put it in the meh category, I think. Maybe it belongs in decent for me. Nah, it's meh. Like, what do you want to be doing on turn 4? You want to be playing Moon Girl. You want to be playing Dino on turn 5. So when the hell are you playing White Queen? You can't play her on turn 6. Because on turn 6, like, who cares about, like, you draw a card, sure, but nah. It's meh. It's meh. Last 2, Wolverine, dead. I hate this card. I think it's so trash. Buff Wolverine. If you discard Wolverine, it enters the board. So that's kind of nice. If you destroy Wolverine, it moves location. So that's also kind of nice. But the problem is it's only 3 stats for 2. That's kind of garbage. Again, you want to be at least 4 stats. At 2 energy, you want to be getting more. You want to be like 5, right? Look at Angela. She's like 9 bloody stats sometimes, mate. So I think Wolverine's trash. If you're playing it like as a destroy token, it's really dead. If you're playing it as a discard card, like in a discard deck, it's actually very decent. The problem is, why are you playing discard in pool 1? Because discard is terrible in pool 1. It's just not a functional deck, to be honest. Maybe we could put Wolverine in there. I think he's a little bit better than these other cards. Nah. I think putting Wolverine in meh is a disservice to the cards in meh. Yep. Because none of these cards are that bad. They're meh. Like, you can actually play all these cards. Wolverine, no. Get in the bin, mate. Get in the sea. Finally, last but certainly not least, Yondu, the mill card. If you guys know me from Gwent, you know I love a bit of mill. I've been known as Master Miller. It is removing the top card up from your opponent's deck, put into graveyard. Now, that might sound great, because if you snipe your opponent's Angela, you're going to be feeling fantastic. However, a lot of the time, you're going to be Yonduing your opponent's Wolverine. Obviously not quite, not literally, but like a bad card. And therefore, you're thinning the deck for them and increasing the odds of them drawing their win condition. So Yondu is just a very hit and miss card. It's a burger flip card, roll the dice, and it's only 2 stats for 1 energy. Which means, in my opinion, it is controversially meh. I know, a lot of people like Yondu. The other thing to note, in fairness, America Chavez, the way Chavez works is you cannot draw her before turn 6. So if she's the top card of your deck, she just stays as the top card of your deck and you basically draw the second. What that means is Yondu snipes Chavez quite a lot. For that reason, it's indecent. It's indecent for that reason. Because Chavez is going to be a popular card, I think. When people get her. So Yondu sniping Chavez makes this card decent. Alright, that's my tier list. Is there anything we want to rejiggle? I'm pretty happy with it. I think Carnage can go up to popping off, probably. Nova maybe could too. I'm going to leave it in very decent. It's not that good. Yep, I like this. Decent. All these cards seem decent to me. Do I do it to be controversial? Do I put Bishop in meh to be controversial? Mate, this card is so meh. It's decent. Is it? I mean, if Lizard's indecent, Bishop is, but my god, I'm tempted. I think this card's meh as hell. The thing is, you can get insane points off Bishop, bro. Like, if you play 7 cards, it's playing for 8 stats for free. Are you really playing 7 cards after Bishop? Maybe, with a lot of 1-drops, of course. Bishop, you're probably going to be wanting to play in a Strong Guy deck. Bishop Strong Guy actually sounds okay. Yeah, like Bishop Strong Guy with like a Blade in there. A lot of 1-drops, cards like Korg. Rocket Raccoon. Yeah, I could see that being alright. I could see Bishop being decent still. Alright guys, that's my tier list. Let me know what you disagree with. Please tell me in the comments why Bishop is broken. Is there anything you think I got massively wrong? Let me know. Do you think which of these cards should be in its own category? Maybe Domino should be in its own category, to be honest. But yeah, that's my tier list. We've got the Angela category, the broken, the popping off, the very decent, they're cool. If you watched this far, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Leave a comment down below saying the keyword is Bishop. Bishop is the keyword in the comments to let me know that you've watched this far. I really do appreciate it. If you want to do your own tier list and put it in the Discord, let me know and put it in there to compare. And don't forget to check me out on Twitch, where I stream every day. Follow me on Twitter for some hot takes about politics and football. Thank you so much. See you on the next video.